All right, guys. I'm giving you, this is the second half of the video now. So I'm going to go back to the slides. I wanted to break them up because it is a lot of stuff. I'm sorry. All right, so let's introduce the Troubles. Okay, you saw the slide already, but we're going to introduce the Troubles now. All right, so the Troubles here's our definition. It is the period of time from the late 1960s until 1998 which is dominated by Protestant and Catholic violence in North Ireland, including an extended campaign of terrorism. Okay, it goes by a couple of different names. Call it the North Ireland War. The English like to call it the Long War. The Catholics tend to call it the Troubles. I like the name The Troubles. I think The Troubles is the best name of those. It's kind of evocative, right? In this like kind of Irish literary kind of understatement way. But The Troubles is what I'm going to stick with. I'm going to stick with that name. Most Americans call it The Troubles. And most Americans are pretty firmly on the pro-Republic of Ireland side on this thing. So I'm going to stick with that name. On your test, you can use any of the names. Just be aware that you're kind of what perspective you're using if you use the names. All right, so we don't have an official start date for the Troubles, not really, right? We have a couple of different events that might be the start of the Troubles, but we don't have one solid date. Okay, so one of the possible start dates is in 1966, when this man here, Gutsy Spence, founds the Ulster Volunteer Force. And what he does is the Ulster Volunteer Force is an armed militia. It's an armed militia of Protestants who are going to murder Catholics. And Gutsy Spence basically makes the goal of the organization to randomly kill Catholics. So he and his people drive into Catholic neighborhoods and murder them. He is going to murder 12 people before he's arrested and thrown in jail. He's thrown in jail, I think it's in 67, where he's going to stay in jail for 4 whole years. And he gets released to go attend his sister's wedding. And then he goes on the lam for about 40 days or so. And then where he murders some more people. And he's going to stay in jail all the way until the 80s. At which point he is released again. So he's actually running the Ulster Volunteer Force from prison. Sympathetic guards are just basically letting prisoners come in and talk to him, and he's running the show, right? And the Ulster Volunteer Force is basically just a street gang of murdering Protestants, right, who are trying to murder Catholics. So there you go. A lot of people will say that his victims in 1966 are the start of the Troubles. All right, Catholics especially like to pick this as the start date because this is, Protestant violence. The other start date that gets cited a lot of times is this March. NICRA and the CRA stands for Civil Rights Association. It's a much smaller group. It kind of gets absorbed in NICRA. But NICRA and CRA have this giant march in Londonderry. Okay, Londonderry is more popularly known as Derry. Okay, the official name of it is Londonderry, but the Catholics refuse to use the word London because they don't want to acknowledge England. So they just call it Derry or Free Derry. And they are going to have this big march, and this is like a big representation of Catholic solidarity, right? Think of this as kind of a Birmingham march or a march to Selma or something, right? Same kind of a deal. And this is going to be this big show of solidarity, just like the American marches prompted violence, so too will these marches prompt violence. The violence is going to really come to a head in Derry again the next year. Okay, so the next year in 1969, this is our our other possible start date is called the Battle of Bogside. So Bogside is a part of Derry, right? It's the name of a neighborhood in Derry, and it's a Catholic neighborhood. The reason why Derry is such a problem is because Derry is a city right on the border of Ireland and North Ireland, right? If you remember the map that you look at the map that we drew in the very beginning, Derry is one of the cities that's right on the border in the top. And Derry also has a very large and very poor Catholic community, which is kind of connected into the Republic of Ireland pretty easily, okay? The Battle of Bogside starts with some massive protests up there, and the massive protests are then, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. The Battle of Bogside starts with the Apprentice Boys. So the Apprentice Boys are a Protestant group who start to march through Derry, and they're starting to march through the Catholic neighborhoods as a show of Protestant solidarity, okay? The Catholics start to fight the Protestants, right? The Protestants are provoking them on purpose, marching through Catholic neighborhoods on purpose. The leaders of the Catholics are these two people here. Bernadette Devlin, she's going to get arrested for prompting the fight. She is actually young. She's very young. She's only like 26, I think. And she's actually an elected official of Derry. She's one of the local elected city council people. And she was, up until this point, the youngest person ever elected in North Ireland, all the way up until like the 2000s, right? When a new person got elected. Anyway, so she's very, very young, and she's leading this group. The other group is a carpenter turned activist named Paddy Doherty, Paddy Bogside Doherty. Anyway, Devlin is the one who starts the violence. Paddy's kind of the one who starts the violence. And the Battle of Bogside is going to turn into this, okay? And there's a lot of pictures of Bogside. There's a lot of this. Now, if you're looking here, you're going to see that the Battle of Bogside is largely being fought by children, okay? These are Catholic children who are largely doing this. This is what you're looking at here is Catholic children making Molotov cocktails. They're trying to make bombs, right? So they're filling bottles up with gasoline that they can then use to attack people, okay? The result of the Battle of Bogside has a couple of big results, okay? First, it turns into widespread riots across all of North Ireland, right? Riots break out in cities all across North Ireland, okay? The result is 8 dead, 200-ish shot, thousands of people injured. The second result is that the British send troops in to North Ireland. Those British soldiers are going to be occupying North Ireland all the way until 1998. So that's our other date here. A lot of times people say that the trouble started when the British arrived, or they'll say that the trouble started with the Battle of Bogside, which brings the British in, or the protest, which inspires the Apprentice Boys in these groups, or the murders by Gutsy, right? The start date doesn't really matter as much as the sequence of events matters, okay? The Republic of Ireland is going to respond here, of course. The Republic of Ireland is going to defend the Catholics, of course they are. And the Republic of Ireland is going to say that North Ireland has no legal right to do anything. They are going to continue to send money, weapons, and support to the IRA, right? The IRA is the Irish Republican Army. Now, at this point, we're not really talking about the freedom fighters from the War of Independence, right? We're decades away from that. So the IRA splits and it turns into these two groups, the official IRA and the provisional IRA, okay? The provisional IRA is going to go on to become the primarily terrorist organization, okay? The official IRA is going to last for a little bit longer, and then it's going to eventually get just disbanded, right? So this is a split between them. And provisional IRA is going to last all the way until the 90s, and is going to be mostly responsible for the terrorist attack. Official IRA is going to be responsible for some attacks, but then it's going to kind of fade away. The British, of course, bring back internment. And so by 1971, North Ireland is able to arrest people without cause anymore and start throwing them in jail again. Oh, yeah. As we go through the 70s, this is all going to be really bad. This is where we're getting to Bloody Sunday again. This is the second Bloody Sunday in 1971. All right, so this is Bloody Sunday is, oh, hold on a second. Here, let me pause. Wait, how do I pause the recording? Pause recording. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so Bloody Sunday, 1972 is, I had 71 on the slide before I fixed it. All right, so this is, so we had just allowed the North Irish to start interning people, interning them and arresting people, right? So now we have another protest at Bogside again, up in Derry again. And this time, these are people protesting the internments. And the police basically just open fire on the crowd. They kill 13 people, they shoot 26 people. This is going to be the largest single day shooting for up until this point. And it's really blatant because there's a lot of people who are there. There's a lot of like press, there's a lot of cameras, there's a lot of videos and stuff. And they basically, the cops get off, right? They have some investigations, and the investigations basically find that the cops were threatened, right? And they say that there was people who were going to throw bombs. Eamon McCain down here, let's take a moment and respect his hair. Look at that. Whew. That's nice. So Eamon McCain is the leader of the Derry Housing Action Committee, which is another one of these organizations, a civil rights organization trying to get housing equity. He's a leader of that, and he's also becomes an investigative journalist. He is going to be the primary kind of voice afterwards, telling what really happened in Derry that day and what really happened. And he's a pretty reliable source as to what went down and what happened. Anyway, he will of course be arrested later, then he gets out, and then he runs for office and holds office later, but he's most important in this. Okay, so we're going to get a couple of things that are going to happen. Okay, so 1973, we're going to get something called the Sunningdale Agreement. Okay, the Sunningdale Agreement is an attempt to end the violence. Okay, so we have a couple of different groups that are trying to end the violence, and the Sunningdale Agreement is a group that is attempting to end the violence. They're attempting to come up with some kind of power sharing agreements where the Catholics are going to get some rights, but the Protestants have to acknowledge, some stuff. Anyway, the Sunningdale Agreement is going to prompt the Ulster Workers' Strike, and the Ulster Workers' Strike is Protestants striking against the Sunningdale Agreement. That the Protestants are going to say the Irish IRA are bombing us and killing us, and so we don't want to negotiate with them because they've been bombing and killing us. This is going to prompt the response of Dublin bombings, where we're going to get some bombs blowing up in Dublin, which then translates into more bombings there's another city also that has some other bombings. So the troubles are starting to spread into Ireland as well. I don't want you to think that everybody is fighting here, right? We have a lot of fighting, but one of the groups that is going to stand out here is this group called Women for Peace. Women for Peace is founded by Mairead Corrigan and Betty Williams. And these two women will found this organization called Women for Peace. Actually, Kieran McCown is part of Women for Peace as well. He's one of the early organizers as well. And these three people will found this organization of Women for Peace. And this is 1973, where they basically are just trying to get all the mothers and women of North Ireland to agree to stop, right? They're going to try to get all of the women, all the mothers, all the sisters and mothers and stuff. They're trying to get them to stop the violence, to convince all the men from stop fighting. So they're going to actually start producing some pretty big groups, and they're going to reach out for both Catholics and Protestants together. They eventually renamed the organization from Women of Peace to Peace People, but they're going to try to do this. Okay, these three people, McCowan, Corrigan, and Williams, they're actually going to get the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts of trying to stop the violence, and they do kind of stop the violence sometimes, right? But not fully, right? They're trying to get the Sunningdale Agreement to be accepted. They're trying to get the violence to stop. But ultimately, the Sunningdale Agreement is going to fall apart. It's just kind of doomed. It's kind of doomed, and it's just people aren't ready to work with each other yet. The peace people get a lot of support. They do get a lot of international support. They get the Nobel Prize. They get, they do get a lot of support, but they just don't have support on the streets of either the Ulster faction, the Orange faction, or the Catholic, the Green faction. North Ireland is going to be kind of known for these peace walls, these peace lines and peace walls. The Irish, the North Irish and the British are basically going to build these walls going all across the country, dividing all of these groups, dividing Catholic neighborhoods and Protestant neighborhoods. And they're trying to keep these things divided all across the country, trying to keep neighborhoods separate from each other, trying to make it more difficult, right? Because the biggest problem is that like a group of Catholic boys will see a group of Protestant boys and they'll start to rumble and they'll start to fight, and then someone gets killed, and then the group who got someone killed is going to just come back and retaliate the next day, right? And like this is happening over and over and over and over again. So they're going to try to keep these things separate. As we move into the 80s, we're going to start getting exhaustion. People are just tired of this, but people are tired of this. Violence is going to start to die down a little bit, but not that much, really. A bunch of the Catholics get arrested and put into prison, and they go on hunger strike for better treatment. Some of them actually die on hunger strikes, but it's going to gain some public support. Sinn Féin returns as a Catholic political party. It's not exactly the Sinn Féin of the past. This is a new Sinn Féin using the same name, but it's it's like the Sinn Féin too. All right, so look at this violence here. The Republican, these are our groups that are committing murders here. So the Republican paramilitary, that's going to be like the IRA groups, right? They're going to be responsible for all of these murders, all the way, tons and tons of bombings. And like, if you go online and look at these bombings, and you will see that you'll see like how insane these bombings are. You'll see how insane these bombings are, that these bombings are like every week, and it's like 15 dead, 10 dead, 20 dead, right? Every single week. So eventually what's going to happen is Margaret Thatcher is the leader of the UK. She's going to sign this Anglo-Irish agreement. And the Anglo-Irish agreement is basically like a tentative agreement that allows the Republic of Ireland to have an advisory role over North Ireland. This is the first significant olive branch that's being extended. And so this is going to start our peace process as we move forward, right? This will lead to our first ceasefire in 1994. That ceasefire is going to fall apart when we get some Protestant violence and some Catholic violence again. This is going to lead to our second ceasefire in 1996, and this one's going to mostly hold. which will lead us into the Good Friday Agreement, and I'll fill that out in a moment. But our ending death toll is 3,532 dead and more than 100,000 people injured. Okay, and most of a significant number of the victims are under 10 years old. These are children. Most of the fighters are like teenagers, and this is North Ireland is living under like this constant threat of bombs, of explosions and bombs and stuff this entire time. So, what is the Good Friday Agreement? Okay, the Good Friday Agreement is a agreement signed between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland and the UK and the political parties of all of those people, right? So the main political parties of North Ireland. So it's the Irish, Ulster Party, the North Ireland Labour Party, Sinn Féin, plus Fianna Fáil, plus Fine Gael, plus British Conservatives, the British Labour Party, right? All of them get together and they sign this document. Actually, Americans are a really big part of this. Bill Clinton sends a delegation over, and that delegation is the like negotiators, basically. So it's pretty cool. All right, so first of all, the Republic of Ireland is recognized. The Republic of Ireland recognizes North Ireland as separate. That's the first thing here. Republic of Ireland recognizes North Ireland as separate. Okay. North Ireland also recognizes that Catholics must be equal in everything, right? So they're going to reform the laws so Catholics are equal legally in every way. The citizens of North Ireland all get both UK citizenship and Irish citizenship if they want it. And they are free to move to the Republic of Ireland if they want to move to the Republic of Ireland. The UK also agrees that if at any point in the future North Ireland votes to leave the UK, that they will respect that and allow Ireland to be unified. This also includes massive police reform. So they're going to get rid of all of the like police abuses. They're going to try to get rid of all the police abuses, all the like, non-judicial, the illegal arresting people and police violence. They're going to integrate Catholics into the police force as well. All of the paramilitary groups agree to lay down their arms and submit and give their arms back. So like the IRA groups, the provisional IRA and stuff, they all agree to surrender their weapons. David Trimble is the Prime Minister of North Ireland. John Hume is the Taoiseach of Ireland, and they're the two primary leaders who signed this agreement. And this is a big, big, big deal for them. This is them receiving their Nobel Peace Prizes here. And all these people are going to all sign this, and the UK signs this too. Okay, so hooray! Democracy has finally reached North Ireland, and they can finally get rid of the violence. Now, I don't want you to think that this is completely fixed. Okay, they have had violence every year. They have not had a year without violence yet. Okay, but the violence has gone down significantly. The armed militia groups, both the Protestant groups and the Catholic groups, have laid down their arms, right? They've both laid down their arms. And so we are getting some violence, but it's violence like just unaffiliated people getting in fights and stuff like that. Okay, here's our last little bit. After the Good Friday Agreement, this is going to be a period of time where Republic of Ireland is called the Celtic Tiger. Okay, so this is like South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, right? Those are the Pacific tigers. Those are the Asian tigers. Those are the dynamic economies. Well, Ireland is also a dynamic economy at this point. It's the Celtic Tiger. the European Union, according to the EU rules, the border between Ireland and North Ireland is open. So people are free to go back and forth now. And today, where it used to be like walls and like armed guards and stuff, today it's just like street that says welcome to Ireland, welcome to North Ireland. So people are free to move back and forth. Even after Brexit, England has agreed to keep that open. So that's viewed as like a vitally important part of the Good Friday Agreement, that Catholics have to be able to go to Ireland, right? And Protestants from Ireland have to be able to go to North Ireland. So that's a vitally important thing, and it's helped keep the violence down a lot immensely. Um, the Irish economy now is dominating in pharmaceuticals and in beef. Those are its two primary exports, and it's one of the largest pharmaceutical manufacturers in all of Europe at this point. Ireland is also going to open itself up for a bunch of foreign companies, namely giant American tech companies, who basically relocate themselves because they don't have to pay taxes. So Apple, Google, Facebook, they're all based in Dublin now. They're all there because they don't have to pay American taxes. They can hide from American taxes. So cool. Women's issues are going to continue. Women get the right to divorce in 1995. Women get the right to an abortion in 2018. Homosexuality is legalized in 93, and same-sex marriage is legalized in 2015. Ireland is still a very Catholic, very religious country. It's still quite conservative. But being part of the EU has kind of forced Ireland to open up and forced Ireland to liberalize, forced Ireland to do this. So this is where we are. Okay. I think we are good at this point. All right. So this is everything that you need. I'm sorry we had to do it this way, but this is the way it is. So take your test. You guys take it by Friday, please. And I will talk to you later.